Hi, spirits. I'm gonna tell you something that might sound simple, but it messed with me for years. What if you're not confused? What if you just don't feel safe? Because I used to tell myself that. I was confused all the time, right? I thought it was the problem, that I was the problem, that I just hadn't figured myself out yet. That if I thought harder or analyzed more, clarity would eventually arrive. But when I look back, I wasn't confused. I was cautious, to be honest. There's a big difference between not knowing who you are and not feeling safe enough to be who you are. When you grow up learning that certain parts of you aren't welcome in the room you're in right now, your brain adapts to it. It doesn't explore those parts freely. It monitors them, it manages them, and it keeps them contained, locked away, never to be seen again. That doesn't feel dramatic most of the time. It feels like uncertainty to you. To everyone else, they don't even know what you're going through. It feels like a fog to you. It feels like you can't quite access the you want to be. But that, like, fog isn't the same thing as confusion. Sometimes that fog is protection to you. Hear me out. Think about it, how different you feel depending on the room you're in. There's spaces you feel more solid, right? More expressive, more like yourself. Let's say your best friend group. And then there's spaces where something is off. The vibe is completely fucked. You speak a little less freely, you filter more, and you second guess yourself. Let's say a work meeting or a family gathering. Ugh, I hate those things. In those moments, are you confused? Ask yourself that question. Or are you reading the room right now? For a long time, I blamed myself for that shift. I thought it meant I didn't have a stable identity. But now I see it differently. My system was responding to cues. It was trying to keep me safe. And here's the part that really shifted things for me. Clarity doesn't grow under pressure. It grows under safety. And okay, quick shameless plug here. If you like this kinds of let's gently dismantle our nervous system to get our content, you should probably subscribe, because this is what we do here. We question things that sound normal but are actually slightly unhinged once you examine them. We talk about trauma without romanticizing it. We talk about identity without turning it into a brand, and we spiral, but like productively we spiral, okay? So yeah, subscribe, like, and comment maybe. Or don't. I'm not your parent. I don't know. Okay, back to the existential crisis, okay? Clarity grows under your body believes it won't be punished for being honest, right? When people feel safe, they experiment. They try things without needing guarantees. They change their minds without panicking. They say something vulnerable and don't immediately regret it. That's how identity forms, not through interrogation, but through permission. A lot of us didn't get that permission early on. We got consequences instead. So now we approach discovery like it's a high-stakes game of poker, where we go all in and all we get out is either a supportive family or a family that hates us. We want to be certain before we move. We want to be absolutely sure before we say something out loud. Everyone can relate to that, probably, that is like trans or gay or anything, right? But identity doesn't develop in an exam environment. It develops in a place where mistakes are survivable. You can come out and still not feel safe. You can transition and still feel like you're performing safety rather than living in it. Because safety isn't just about whether people say they support you. It's about whether your body believes that support is stable. If at any point being yourself costs you connections, or loved ones, or your friends, and everything else, your body and your mind, they remember that. Even if the current room is safe, even if your current friend group you're with right now is the best friend group you ever had, your body and your mind is still telling you, I need solid hard proof that they won't leave me if I tell them about my feelings. That doesn't mean you're broken. It means you learned. And you learned the wrong thing, kinda. And at the end of it all, at some point, I realized I had been asking myself the wrong question. The whole time I kept asking why I was so confused, why I couldn't just figure things out already, why everything felt so unclear to me. But eventually I started asking myself a different question. I've asked, where do I feel unsafe? That question, it hit differently, right? It wasn't as comfortable, but it was a lot more honest. And once I started looking at it that way, things slowly started making more sense. Sometimes the reason was obvious, but sometimes it was much quieter than that. Maybe it was a certain dynamic I had with someone. Maybe the tone of a conversation. Or old situations that my brain clearly hadn't filed away yet. Nothing dramatic on the surface, but enough for my system to stay on guard. When I started changing those things, even in small ways, something else started changing too. Not overnight, it wasn't some big moment of clarity, no big bang, where everything suddenly made sense. It was quieter than that. I would notice myself wanting something and not immediately shutting the thought down. I would say something honest and realize I wasn't panicking afterwards. In some spaces, the fog just wasn't there as much anymore. The clarity didn't arrive all at once. It sort of grew on me. And maybe that's closer to what's happening for you as well. Maybe what looks like confusion from the outside is actually just caution or being on guard. Maybe you spent so long adapting to the environment around you that now everything feels a little blurry and the road a bit more bumpy. But adaptation doesn't erase who you are, it just covers things up so you can get through the situation. If you feel behind because you think you should have everything figured out by now, it might not be that you're late, it might just mean your system is still learning that it's allowed to settle. That's not weakness, that's a survival instinct. That did its job really well. Now you're just slowly teaching it that life doesn't have to be run entirely on survival mode anymore. And that takes a lot of time. But it's a very different situation from being confused. Thank you for listening, everyone. You will see on the screen another video that might interest you and might not. I see you in the next video. Have a good one.